we can lie to the whole world, but it is very difficult to lie to yourself. And the moment you start taking accountability of who you are, your thoughts, your actions, your words, your perceptions of the world, is the moment you can start changing your life and becoming the version that you want to be instead of the reaction version that you are from the pain or the coping mechanisms that you have.
Hey everyone, I'm Angeline Constantinou, and this is Her Unapologetic Voice. This podcast was created for women who lead but are done leading from apology. Here we have real, unfiltered conversations about boundaries, truth, and confidence. The kind of talks that remind you your voice is not something you find once, it's something you build. Every episode will give you something real to take with you, whether it's a boundary script, a reflection tool, or simply the courage to say what you really mean. So if you're ready to lead from your truth, not from approval, this is your space. Your unapologetic voice starts here. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Her Unapologetic Voice, the podcast where we have real, raw, healing, and empowering conversations that help women reclaim their truth, their voice, and their God-given purpose. Today's episode is such a powerful one. I'm joined by Lydiah Urban, a somatic and spiritual trauma guide who helps high-functioning women break the hidden patterns, keeping them stuck in dysregulation, disconnection, and unfulfilling relationships. Her work beautifully bridges psychology, somatics, and spirituality to help women not just understand their trauma intellectually, but actually process and transmute it at the root. Through breath work, nervous system regulation, voice activation, and deep self-inquiry, Lydiah guides women back home to themselves. She also shares from a deeply personal place, having navigated addiction, abusive relationship dynamics, chronic pain, and shame before stepping into profound healing and transformation. This conversation will speak to the woman who is tired of surviving and ready to step into wholeness, self-trust, and deeper love. And without further ado, Lydiah, welcome to the stage. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Angeline. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to share the wisdom that I've embodied for quite some time now.
Yes, I'm so excited for you to share your wisdoms. Share your story, please, going back from that place of navigating addiction, abusive relationships.
Yeah. It's a lot. I started my first relationship, the first boy I ever even kissed, ended up being a 2.5-year long abusive relationship in high school. And that really molded who I was when it came to my understanding of intimacy and when it came to my understanding of love and who I was and my worth. And that pattern of feeling like my sexuality was the only thing that gave me worth continued throughout all my relationships, and it was deep rooted in who I was. There was a huge shattering that happened because I was living not from my truth. The trauma that I endured fractalized my personality, where I was living a double life and projecting this person on the outside, still high functioning, still able to succeed in school. And I had my own business for 8 years and I was a model, but all of that was just fake, because behind the shadows, I was dealing with depression, anxiety. I was addicted to alcohol. I considered myself a love and sex addict, where I was constantly searching for validation. And the easiest way for me to receive that validation was through men. And it was very difficult because there was so much shame behind all of my actions. And I hated who I was because of it, but I couldn't stop the cycle. It was extremely difficult. Back in 2019, I had met a man where everything really started to shift for me. He was really the black mirror of me. And the book that we're together.
Yes, Breaking the Silence.
That's the title of my chapter, Black Mirror of Me, because this man that came into my life was the reflection that I needed in order to really look at myself and look at my shadows and be like, whoa, Like,
Whoa.
something's got to change. I went through this huge spiritual awakening where I really needed to confront some of the pain and the trauma that I was carrying in my body, and how it was making me react from a trauma response instead of being sovereign in who I was to make the decisions within my life. I wasn't ever really present in life. I was kind of taking a back seat. And that's what my story is about in the book, is like how I became so fractalized that I had this energy in my body that wasn't me. And it was forcing me to, my voice became a bark. I was very bitter and resentful and jealous and ugly. Like all of the negative characteristics that people can have were just amplified. And through that experience, I went deep dive into healing and deep dive into the different modalities of somatic therapies. And I learned a lot about psychology and the way that the brain works and how trauma impacts our whole life, and childhood trauma, and how to reparent yourself, how to, all of the things, attachment theory, like everything from psychology to somatic therapies to spirituality. It kind of took me through this whole deep dive and how the universe works and how it works within my body. And so since then, my whole world has shifted, and I've really become protective of who I am. And my story is extremely powerful, and I'm now able to share that story and also channel the wisdom that has come from me dealing with spiritual attack and trauma and addiction.
Oh, yeah. And I've done somatic healing too. It's amazing. Yeah. And I commend you for being real, raw, and vulnerable and sharing that part of your story. And your work is so powerful because it goes right into the body. So that's what somatic healing does. So for women listening right now who may not fully understand somatic healing, how would you describe what you do in simple terms?
Yes. So somo just refers to the body. So we've got the mind, the body, and the soul. And that's kind of where my pillars are, is we can sit there and understand the why until we're dead. If we don't actually get into the body and start feeling our feelings, then nothing is going to change. We can sit there and do affirmations all day. I am beautiful. I am strong. I am powerful. But if you do not actually complete the fight or flight cycle and go into the nervous system and learn how to regulate it and calm it, and a lot of the times purge out the things that are the painful experiences in your body, then you're not going to do those quantum leaps that you want to see. You're not going to see that extreme shift of becoming a new version of yourself.
I agree.
I worked a lot with plant medicines, and plant medicines really help purge. And when I say purge, I don't necessarily just mean throwing up. Purging can be shaking, it can be sweating, it could be burping, it could be crying, it could be screaming, physical response, the visceral response that needs to happen. So that's a purge, when your body is shaking or doing the things to complete that fight or flight cycle.
Right.
So once we do that, we can then become safe in our body. So it's all about feeling it to heal it. It's one of my mantras. And so when you work with plant medicines, which is what I did and which I teach people how to do afterwards, I coach them how to rewire their brains after they've done the purge. You've got neuroplasticity in your brain, which is allowing your brain to be malleable. After you do the plant medicines, you are able to do the affirmations where they actually stick. You're able to...
I like that, where they actually stick. Not you're just not saying it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So we're able to do the mantras, they actually stick. You're able to see things from different perspectives because you're not coming from a victim mentality, you're coming from an empowered place. So back to your question about what is somatic therapies. Somatic therapies, it's like I said, it's referring to the body. It's being able to complete that fight or flight cycle so that way your nervous system can return to homeostasis and become harmonious with the rest of the system.
Okay. I love that. And I know that you have walked, I want to talk a little bit about your story a little bit deeper. So you've walked through the addiction, abusive dynamics, chronic pain and shame. So what was the moment where you realized that I cannot keep living like this?
Yeah, the moment, I think, it was a buildup. I went through phases of suicidal thoughts and attempts, and I really just hated the person I was. But what really tipped the trigger was when I hurt somebody I really loved, and I took full responsibility of that, and my guilt became almost a punching bag for abuse. And the guilt that I held because I hurt somebody made me accept a lot of physical violence, emotional abuse, where I was just accepting it because of the shame I carried and the amount of responsibility I carried for this person. Eventually, when my life was threatened and my safety, it was really, really bad, where I was being stalked and it was being abused. And I mean, it was bad. I just needed to say enough was enough. And I changed my phone number. I moved. I needed to just rid my life of every single person I've ever known in the past. I studied in India. I studied yoga, meditation, breath work in India.
That's awesome.
I told my boss one day, I said, either I'm checking myself in a mental institution or I'm going to go down and work with some shamans in Peru. And so that's when I left and I went to work with some shamans in Peru, and I learned how to do somatic therapy and become my own shaman. And so now I teach how to become your own shaman by using your breath, by using your voice, by using your imagination and your physical body.
That's amazing. And I also want to talk about understanding trauma in high functioning women, because many of the women that you see on social media, especially, they appear put together on the outside, like they have it all, right? But what are some of the signs that a high functioning woman is actually dysregulated?
Yeah, and I think that this is a lot of women in our era, because women nowadays are forced to be like men, where we have to get up every single day and we have to work, and our worth is tied to how much we produce, and we aren't able to be women. So coming back to understanding that you don't have to do it all, and everything's going to be okay if you don't, and coming back to your femininity as a woman, your rest and relaxation, your intuition, your gut feelings, and not powering through and working so hard. So if a woman is working really, really hard and day in, day out, and she doesn't stop, that's telling me that her nervous system doesn't know how to relax, and that she doesn't know how to sink within herself and allow the feminine to be the magnet to pull whatever she wants to her. So she's kind of like the salmon swimming upstream, because she's going against her truest nature, which is that we are a divine feminine being that allows the relaxation, and whatever is supposed to be for us will come to us.
Right, exactly. Because a lot of women, like some who work in corporate America, they have to put on this masculine energy.
Yeah.
Because they've been told that they have to produce.
Yeah.
For example, when I worked in corporate America, when I went to work, I had to wear a different hat. Yeah. Just that masculine energy, and you lose yourself in the process.
Yeah, and women are adaptable. We will rise to any occasion. And when your nervous system is in overdrive, like that means day in, day out, you're working, and the weekends you maybe have a fun day, but the rest of the time you're tired, it actually does cause chronic pain, because when I think it's your limbic system in your brain, it's what regulates your fight or flight. So when you are constantly on, you never get that rest. And there's cortisol and stress hormones that are cycling your body and cause disharmony, which is dis-ease. So disease. And that's when you get, like for me, I had a lot of trauma in my body, but I was very high functioning. I had my own business. I did all these different events around the country. I put myself through college. I was a finance degree, then I was an equity research analyst, and then I was all this finance, very masculine stuff. And then I was in sales, and it was like high pressure sales, day in, day out, meeting your quota. I battled chronic pain where I literally could not walk. I literally could not go to the bathroom by myself, and I could not drive as a 25-year-old woman.
Oh my goodness.
Because there was so much stress and trauma in my body.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I had trauma, but I felt sick.
Yeah, I mean, it can show up in different places. Like, it can show up in your stomach if there's a lot of fear. For me, I had a lot of sexual trauma, so it showed up in my hips. There was a lot of scarcity trauma, which showed up in my spine. There was a lot of, I still have a little bit of masculine, like this weak masculine energy. It's a weak masculine energy, and it's pain in your shoulders. Like, there's different ways that pain shows up in the body to warn you, hey, you're working too hard, or hey, you need to calm down, or hey, you need to regulate your nervous system, or take a vacation, or take a break. Feel into your body, feel it to heal it, process it, move it through. And so one of the big processes is that I had, this was really what opened me up to understanding somatic therapies and plant medicine, and why it gets stuck in your body. The Body Keeps the Score is like the #1 book I feel like everyone should read. But I was going through an episode of I can't walk, and it was like a day before I was supposed to go on this vacation that I planned a year for it. And I was like, I'm taking this vacation. I don't care if my back's hurting. Like, I'm going on it.
You're going on it, right?
Regardless. So I'm in Oregon, climbing up this mountain, literally crooked, like climbing up like this. I'm like, oh, so much pain, but it's so beautiful. I'm like, I am doing this, but I was in so much pain. I went back to my friend's farm, and she's like, Lydia, why don't you try to do some psilocybin mushrooms and see what happens? And I was like, I will literally try anything right now. I'm in so much pain. And it's more natural than your your codeine or whatever pills that can be
that they prescribed by doctors, right?
Yeah. And so I sat there, and of course I prayed before taking these mushrooms, and I was like, can you please help me with this pain? Show me what I need to know. And when I went through the process, I mean, I opened up a portal in the etherical realm. I saw this vacuum come and suck out this black energy from my hip, like straight up suck out this energy, closed the portal. And then right when that portal closed, I was sober, I was aligned, and I was 2 inches taller. My spine stretched because I was so crooked that I became 2 inches taller from this experience. Yeah. And so that was something that was like, wow, there's some magic here. There is some beauty here. Like, there's hope for me. I'm not going to be disassociated from my body and completely dysregulated and in chronic pain and addicted to drugs, alcohol, and sex my whole life. Like, I didn't want that version of me. And that opened me up to like possibilities. And here I am today, where I was, I think, 5 years, almost 5.5 years celibate. No, 4.5 years celibate. I'm with a partner now that loves me and accepts me and cherishes me dearly. I'm in the first healthy relationship of my life. I've been sober from alcohol for 2.5 years. And so I'm like in an entirely different timeline, where the pain that I once carried in my body has never even been in this body before. I'm in a totally different person. And that's what reflection, somatic therapies, spirituality, and like really doing the work is going to do. If it can do it for me, it could do it for anyone, because I was down low. I was beaten low for a long time.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
What a huge transformation. Now I want to talk about the book that we're both in.
Yeah.
So have you shared that part in your story?
So I didn't share anything about the plant medicine. This was more so so the only way I could really describe what was happening to me when I was dealing with spiritual attack was demonic possession. And it's crazy that trauma can induce fractures of yourself that are coping mechanisms with how you deal with the trauma.
Right.
And so my story really is about the abuse that I endured, and how my power and my sexuality was taken and manipulated, and how I overcame that. And then in my chapter, I give a lot of the tips and tricks that I've used in order to overcome this painful and honestly chaotic, unreal experience that I had dealt with.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to read your story. I haven't had a chance to, but I'm going to read your story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a powerful one, and there's
Mm,
so much detail to it that I couldn't fit it all in one story, one chapter.
right. And this is the power of sharing your story, everyone.
Yeah.
We all have you can turn your pain into purpose and your mess into a huge message to the world. So we are so grateful that we are #1 Amazon.com bestsellers, Breaking the Silence Volume 4. So the link will be posted in the show notes for you to order your book. And now we have an event coming up. Yes, the book launch party on March 30th on Monday in Tampa at Oxford Exchange. That starts at 6:30 p.m., but we have to be there earlier, and we know why. So I'm really super excited about that because there's so many people who will be coming. And Michelle Jewsbury spearheaded this movement, and I had the pleasure of interviewing Michelle on my podcast, Let's Break the Silence, 4 years ago, and then we met in person 3 weeks ago. It's like,
Yeah, full circle, all in this movement. And that's the truly beautiful thing when you open up your throat. Like your throat is this bottleneck to your energy, right? It's all right here. When you are able to heal this area by telling your story and standing in your truth, it is direct reflection of your sacral chakra, which is your creation center. So the moment you can start healing your voice, you can actually start creating from a place of sovereignty and wholeness and truth. So if you're stuck here, it's no wonder why all of your endeavors get stopped, or all of your endeavors get met with a brick wall because you're not open.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So there's so much power that comes from sharing your story, from owning and taking full accountability in who you are. I think my number one wisdom drop on you is radical honesty. We can lie to the whole world, but it is very difficult to lie to yourself. And the moment you start taking accountability of who you are, your thoughts, your actions, your words, your perceptions of the world, is the moment you can start changing your life and becoming the version that you want to be instead of the reaction version that you are from the pain or the coping mechanisms that you have.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. And I want to talk about voice activation and reclaiming power. So I love that you incorporate voice activation. This aligns so much with my message of breaking the silence. So why is the voice such a powerful part of healing? I've done voice activation, by the way. So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the voice is one of our most powerful and unique parts about being a human. Throughout all of history, when you silence somebody's voice, you take their power. And so when you want to reclaim, using your voice activates every single thing within your body because your voice is a frequency. And when you hit certain tones like om or lum or rum or yum, it's hitting and creating the vibration that then trickles throughout your entire body, causing slight shifts. Like vibration moves stuff. So you're causing movement in your energy field, which will allow you to have a release in some way. Not always, but if it's done right, you can have these beautiful releases. And then, like I was mentioning earlier, it's attached to your sacral chakra, which is your creation power. We're all here to co-create with the universe. That's what makes us divine humans. We're both fully divine and fully human. So that's what makes us co-creators, is our sacral creation center. And this, we're talking about chakras here. And if you don't know about that, I highly suggest you learn a little bit about your energy centers in your body. Other energy center that it highly affects is your solar plexus, which is right in the center, the big yellow one, and it's all about your personal power and your personal sovereignty. So when you start using your voice, standing up for yourself, saying no, setting boundaries, you reclaim bits of yourself that had to shrink, that had to stay small, that had to stay quiet when you were a kid or when you weren't fully felt safe or protected to speak.
There you go. I love that. And yeah, that's so powerful. That is so, so powerful. And I want to talk about briefly breaking patterns in relationships. So why do women keep attracting the same types of relationships, even when they're doing the work? So why do women keep attracting the same types?
Absolutely. And it's all comes back to resonance. Like attracts like. So there's something within your soul contract, within your lineage, within your physical body that is attracting these types of relationships to show you how you need to grow, expand, and heal. And so when you are, and this can go back to childhood, how you feel safe, how you coped from your parental relationships and how you perform in order to be loved.
Okay.
So learning about attachment theory is such a helpful tool because it shows you whether you're an overgiver, whether you are avoidant, whether you are an anxious person that you constantly need validation. And so there is this resonance that happens that pulls people to you that can then show you how you need to heal. And if you say that you're doing the work, but you keep getting the same results, then you need to try something else because clearly it's not, working. And it could be that it's trapped in your body. It could be
say that it's stuck there. So how does one release it? How do they
through somatic therapies, through the movement, through the breath, through the voice, through the imagination, pairing all four of those things together to then really move that energy through, cycle that energy, process that energy, learn the why, and forgive it. So I have a whole process that I like to do with my clients, which is about acknowledgement, understanding, accepting, forgiving, and finally learning how to love. When you go through these techniques, you can start learning how to self-love. And when you truly start learning how to self-love and pour into yourself, you will attract somebody at that frequency of love instead of desperation or wanting or needing or feeling unworthy or all these lower vibrational frequencies that we admit because of the trauma or the lineage social conditioning that has been passed down to us.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's amazing. And I have a question because we're coming up to the top of the hour. I want to ask a couple of questions. How can women begin to trust themselves? Because I want to talk about trust. Okay. Because there's a lot of women who I feel they don't trust themselves after the trauma. So how does one work with that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think because I've dealt with this. I've definitely dealt with doing one thing or saying one thing and doing the other and having this cognitive dissonance, which is like your body and your mind coming against each other and like fighting each other and not being in alignment, not being cohesive. So I think the best way to start trusting yourself is by doing what you say you're going to do.
Okay.
Start with small things. Tomorrow, I am going to meditate for 5 minutes and then actually do it. And that really signals to your body that you are going to start becoming in alignment, and it's consistency. But that's like the biggest thing is start doing what you say you're going to do. And eventually you're going to be able to set those boundaries that are disaligned with who you are. Hey, I didn't like the way that you spoke to me. And last time I told you that I didn't like that way. I don't really care to have you in my life anymore because clearly you're disrespecting me and you're breaking my boundaries. And then instead of allowing them to creep back in, you cut them off. It's a lot easier said than done, but starting small with those small little activities that you say you're going to do and you do it helps build your self-confidence and helps build your trust.
In fact, I'm glad you brought that out because like when I first started, like meditating 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder than you think when you are first starting out.
And sometimes it's 15 minutes when I'm traveling. I may just have 5 minutes to meditate.
Yeah.
And it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
They say how you start your day is how your day is going to look like.
And you don't even need to make it about meditation. I mean, you could make it anything that you want to do, or even in your routine in the morning. Like tomorrow, instead of just eating my food right away, I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray in front of my food, or I am going to go to the gym, and you actually do it. Like you actually do it. I've explained learning how to trust yourself like this. If you have a gym partner, right, and you go to the gym every day and your gym partner's like, oh, I'm going to be there, and they never show up,
Right.
Well, then the next time they tell you that they're going to be there, you're not going to believe them.
Exactly.
So when you're telling your body, I'm going to do something, or this is the last time, or when you say that you're going to set boundaries or set your no or not allow things to happen again, and you do, it's signaling to your body that it cannot trust the words or the thoughts or the intention. It cannot trust the intention.
Right.
So take those small little steps to learn and rewire your body to trust itself.
Exactly. Because what you put out there to the universe comes back.
It does. And when you don't heal it, part of my story is that these things kept coming back in my life, and the patterns of relationships kept coming back because I never actually dealt with the root of it, which all stemmed from a deep trauma. Once I started healing the trauma and healing the root, I attracted different people, and I started becoming a different person myself.
Sure, absolutely. And for the woman listening right now who feels stuck, overwhelmed, disconnected from her body, what is one truth she needs to hear today?
Everything that is happening to you is actually happening for you. And I know that may be hard to believe when you're in the midst of it, but the darkness are bumpers. They're guidelines that are helping you lead your life back into alignment, back into the light. The darkness is not fully dark. There's beauty in the darkness. There's beauty in the pain. There's beauty in the suffering. You just have to be able to find that beauty to bring you back to who you are supposed to be, who you truly are, your divine self.
Exactly. And where can women connect with you and continue this work?
Yeah, you can visit my site. It's lydiaurban.com. It's Lydia spelled with an H. I'll get Angeline that link. They can connect with me on Instagram at Lydiah Urban. And I also recently just created a Facebook group called the Collective Wisdom Drop, where I am giving really powerful tools and tricks and asking people about their stories to share their tools and tricks and the wisdom that they've collected over their life experiences. So it's a very beautiful, safe container.
I love that. So all the links will be posted in the show notes. I'm excited for the event that's coming up on March 30th. So really, really super excited. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your story. I mean, there is power in sharing your story, Lydia. So I'm very proud of you. And what a powerful and deeply transformative conversation. If this episode spoke to you, I want you to take a moment and really sit with what you just heard. Because healing is not just about understanding your story, it's about feeling safe enough to rewrite it. So many women are walking through life looking strong on the outside, but still carrying dysregulation, disconnection, and unhealed wounds within their body. And what we explored today is that true healing happens when you move forward beyond just thinking about your pain and begin to feel, process, and release it at the root. And I want to say a beautiful thank you to Lydiah Urban for sharing her story, her truth, and the powerful work she's doing to help women come back home to themselves. And if this conversation resonated with you, I encourage you to share this episode with another woman who needs to hear this message. Take a screenshot and tag us, and be sure to subscribe, rate, and review Her Unapologetic Voice so we can continue breaking the silence and amplifying these conversations. And you can find us on YouTube at Her Unapologetic Voice. You can also follow us on IG at Unapologetic Voices, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. So again, thank you so much, Lydia, for this powerful conversation. Everyone, have a great day. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Her Unapologetic Voice. Every conversation here is meant to help you build confidence from the inside out and find strength in your own words. If today's message resonated, follow the show and share it with a friend who's ready to lead from who she truly is. You can also connect with me on social media at Her Unapologetic Voice Podcast for updates and behind the scenes insights. Remember, Confidence begins when you stop apologizing for your truth and start speaking from it. I'm Angeline Constantinou, and I will see you in the next episode.